Good morning. It's Saturday, the 4th of April. Welcome to Saturday Storytime. I hope you're sitting comfortably. And for today's story, I've got a special guest. This is Trudy, and she's going to help us with our story today. Trudy lived in a place called Galilee, which was near to the sea, which was a good thing because Trudy liked to eat fish. There was nothing she liked better than a nice piece of fish to nibble on. One day, Trudy was down by the harbour where the fishermen had their boats, and she was having a little sniff around to see if she could find any bits of fish. She was sniffing around and she climbed onto one of the fishermen's boats, because often they drop bits of fish in between the floorboards. Suddenly she realised the boat was setting off, sailing out onto the sea. Trudy didn't mind. She wasn't frightened of the water, and generally the fishermen were friendly as long as she kept out of their way. But then the weather started to change. The wind started to blow, the rain started to come down, and Trudy began to feel a little bit frightened. She looked around and she could see that the other men on the boat looked a little bit worried too. Then the storm began to get worse, and there was thunder and lightning, and the wind blew harder, and the rain came down even faster. She looked around again. She could see that the men on the boat were beginning to look frightened, and she felt frightened as well. The waves were getting bigger, and the boat went up and down and up and down and up and down. And Trudy didn't know what was going to happen. Then she noticed in the bottom of the boat was one man who was fast asleep. She couldn't believe her eyes. He was laid there, How can that man be asleep when all this is going on around us? She wondered. Just then one of the sailors shouted, "Jesus, wake up! We're going to drown!" Jesus carried on. Trudy decided she'd have to do something about it, because by this time she was feeling very, very anxious. So she went down into the bottom of the boat. She went to the man's face and she tickled his face with her whiskers. Then she did it again, and then she did it again, until eventually he stirred. And he stood up. Oh, he yawned and looked around as if to say, "What's all the fuss about?" Trudy heard one of the other men saying, "Are you not bothered? We might drown. There's a terrible storm. The boat's going to go down." But the man stood on the side of the boat. He reached out his arms and he just said, "Peace be with you." And at that moment, the rain stopped. The wind stopped, the thunder and lightning stopped, the boat was calm because all the waves had stopped, and everybody breathed a big sigh of relief. They were all safe again. Trudy thought that man was amazing. She'd heard them call his name. They called him Jesus. She thought she'd like to be a friend of Jesus. Because when he'd stood up and said peace, and the wind and the waves had calmed, she felt a special peace deep in her heart. The end.